Hello, everyone. Welcome to Serial Scoop Now. I'm Roger Newcomb, your host, and I'm here with the magnificent Alisha Spielmann,
Hello.
actor extraordinaire.
Hi.
I have been a fan of yours for like 4 years. When did Producing Juliet come out?
A few years ago. Yeah. 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
So I was a fan, and then she was nominated for the Indie Series Awards, the Best Ensemble, and she presented a couple of years ago. And now this is a very special episode because I've never interviewed somebody that's working on a show that I'm producing before, and that's We Be Nurses, which we're going to talk about shortly. But I wanted to talk about how you got, when did you become interested in acting? How you got to New York City? Because I know you're the pride of Minnesota.
You've been talking to my mom.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. I grew up in Minneapolis. I've always loved telling stories and loved singing, actually. I actually knew how to sing before I knew how to talk. So saith my parents, actually. I trust them. And I went to St. Olaf College, and I graduated with a music and a theater major.
Is this the Rose Nyland St. Olaf?
It's a college, and there is a small town called St. Olaf, and there's also a college that's a music conservatory and a liberal
But
arts.
it's not in St. Olaf, Minnesota?
No, it's in
okay,
Northfield, Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a really, really beautiful town, just south of the Twin Cities. And so I spent a year and I did this tour out of Boston, and then I lived in Minneapolis for a year, and I was working on a show at the Guthrie. I was working on As You Like It, and I had a job at a photography shop, and in the span of like this 2-week period, my car stopped working in the middle of a really busy intersection and just crapped out on me. We lost our jobs because photography was going digital, and my phone died. And I was like, oh my God. And a friend of mine that I was working on a show with was like, why don't you move to New York? And I was like, I don't have a reason to say no.
Had you thought about, because I wanted to move to New York from the time I was born. Did you want to?
I had thought about it, but I thought I'd take my time and do Chicago for a few years and ease my way over to the East Coast. But I kind of just decided to jump. And then a good friend of mine, Brian, who I went to college with, he was like, oh, I've been wanting to move to New York. Let's do it together. And so in the span of 6 months, I literally booked 2 shows back to back. I had 3 weeks to pack. And I took half of what I could fit into his car, and we drove, without having a place. It took me a week to find a place to live.
Wow.
My parents were a little worried. I had the help of a friend who lent me some money because I realized I had less money than I thought I would coming out here, and she was kind enough to lend me some money that I paid her back with. But if it wasn't for her and just saying yes and jumping, I would probably, I don't know where I'd be now.
Well, I had a similar story when I left Nashville. I wanted to be in New York, but I ended up in Silicon Valley first.
Oh, wow.
But I remember leaving Nashville, and my mom is there to send me up, and then I see her waving in my rearview mirror, and it's so she's gone now, so I really miss her, and I would never forget that. It was really sweet, and she definitely helped me out at first, because the first 6 months I sort of went without a great plan.
Yeah, no, I didn't even have a place to live. There was one night where I was like, if we have to sleep in the car, it's going to be okay because it's a nice night out and it's not raining. But I think if I don't, sometimes just jumping and just taking a chance and taking a risk is it's terrifying, but it can be the best thing in the world too.
So you've been in New York for a while now. You work constantly. I just see, just following your Facebook page, I see constant pictures and shows, and you were just in Rising with an awesome poster.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the writer, the playwright Jason Sang, actually is a really amazing illustrator, and he designed a poster for us as well, which is pretty cool. And also Isaiah Tannenbaum, who did the photography and did the actual photo for the publicity for Rising. He takes really great pictures too, so he designed that. But yeah, I love working on new plays and new projects, and I love creating a character, and that's primarily what I do in the city with Flux Theater Ensemble, which is a theater company I help run along with 10 other amazingly crazy, wonderful artists in the city, and that's who produced Rising, which was a new play.
So you've done so many, I think especially on stage, you've played such a diverse group of characters. What has been your all-time favorite stage experience?
Oh my gosh, I have a lot of them, but can I narrow it down to 3?
Oh my God, so indecisive. Okay, 3, top 3.
Okay, one of my favorite plays is by John Adams, and it's called Sans Merci, and it was the first play I did with Rachel Flores.
Ooh.
And if it wasn't for that particular play, I wouldn't be producing Juliet, because that's the play that Tina Cecil Ward saw me in when she went to go see it for Rachel, and then called me in later for producing Juliet. So
Tina Cecil Ward is a brilliant, in the web series space, she's an icon. I guess she's just an icon in life. And Rachel Flores as well, an amazing actress. Both winners at the first annual Indie Series Awards many, many years ago. But yeah, both really talented.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful. And that play was like heartbreaking and beautiful. And if you got a chance to see it in New York City, like awesome. And if you ever get a chance to see it anywhere, you should. It's great. The second play, in no particular order, is a play by August Schulenberg called Jane the Plane, and it was a play that I started workshopping and working on before it was even finished. And it took us about 2 years of workshopping it, and then it was produced by Flux, and I played Jane the Plane, Jane Allen, and it's just a role that was really near and dear to my heart, and I loved that character so much and loved her journey, and it has a really, really special place in my heart, that particular show. And then the third one is a play by Mac Rogers, who is this amazing, science fiction, all sorts of genres sort of playwright. And he wrote a trilogy about an alien invasion, and I was in the second of the 3 installments called Blast Radius. And I played a character that was the first of what became a few different characters that were unlike what I've played before, which is this badass, not passive aggressive at all, just tell it like it is, really smart, intelligent female character. So named Clem. So yeah, and I love that play so much. It's the middle installment, so it's really tricky. It's really, again, emotionally heartbreaking and literally about an alien invasion. So, but it's dramatic and it's beautiful. So yeah, those are my 3. I'm sorry, I can't narrow it down any further.
So I'm currently producing a TV pilot called We Be Nurses, written by A.A. Adedeji, a very prolific writer in Brooklynwood. Brooklynwood, Brooklyn.
Is that where it takes place?
Yes. No, it takes place in New York, but it was almost shot exclusively in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. So we're kind of calling it Brooklynwood, like Hollywood, Brooklynwood.
Meshing the 2.
We're going to try to make that a thing. I don't know if it's going to work. But I thought of you for this because I see you playing, I don't know, more like stoic characters on film. I don't know. I was thinking, I see all these crazy photos of you on stage, and then you're playing Mary Catherine in We Be Nurses, who's a little bit different than you're producing Juliet character, for example.
Yeah, she's very different from me too, but that's exciting. I feel like there's certain roles that I feel really comfortable in, that I feel really at home with, and then there's certain roles that kind of are a little scary because they're not as natural as I would be if it were me. But I kind of like pushing that a little bit and expanding my sort of artistic license within reason. And Mary Catherine is definitely one of those roles.
So this is a show about 8 nurses, and you play one of the 8 nurses, and it's a complicated story. And the creator, A.A. Adedeji, who's very prolific, knows so much about these characters.
He really does.
How would you describe Mary Catherine?
I would describe Mary Catherine as someone she's kind of a badass sort of person. She doesn't really meld with any particular label, although if you wanted to label her, she'd probably be fine with being called a lesbian. But she's not passive aggressive at all. She tells it how it is. She's looking for something. I don't even know if she knows what she's looking for yet, but she's looking for something. She's looking for something, love, whatever, something to just sweep her off her feet and have an adventure. And so in the meantime, she's also training to be a nurse.
So was it the first day or the second day? Was the first day we shot you in a really sexy scene with Venus Dana, who plays Samantha.
Who's a beautiful, wonderful actress. Yeah.
She's too gorgeous. I'm not even sure she's a real person. She's so gorgeous. So you're now playing lesbians regularly.
Yes, I can. representing the lesbian population on
Which is great.
camera. I'm proud to.
So very good scenes, but you and I were watching on set some dailies from that, and you were kind of like, how do you feel watching yourself? Like, because usually on stage you're not watching yourself, but how do you feel like have you been to like a premiere where you watched producing Juliet on screen? Like, how do you feel watching yourself? Oh my
gosh, our premiere was at the Raindance Film Festival in London, wow. So that was a super huge screen. I had the chance to see it before, but it still did not take away from the fact that I do not like watching myself. But it's important to do that because I feel like it can only help me become a better actor on camera. My training is absolutely 100% theater-based. It's very grounded in the theater. That I feel like is definitely my home. And being on camera is something I still feel very new with. I feel like I've been doing it for quite a few years, but I'm still learning so much. So being able to watch it, but it does take me a few tries. I will often cover my face just and peek out through my hands because
just watching this
hard.
back, I'll be editing this later, and I'll be like, oh my god.
I know, but it's because even as much as like. Theater, everything's out, and movements can be bigger. They can be subtle too, but they can be bigger. But on camera, movements are huge.
Well, you were almost out. There was almost a wardrobe malfunction in the dailies that we watched. I don't know if that's going to make it to the screen, but
oh God. I mean, if it does, it does. What are you going to do? But yeah.
And then this past week we shot. I don't know how much we can give away, but we shot in a giant group scene in a very warm location. Like maybe the hottest room I've ever been in my entire life.
It was like Bikram yoga on camera.
That's true.
Felt good. My pores were very clean after our shoot.
Right. And so, we mentioned Venus.
It was appropriate, though. Yes. It was appropriate for that scene.
Yeah. I think it worked, and it looked really good. We mentioned Venus Dana. There's AA Out of Daisy has planned this so far in advance. We hope this pilot gets picked up because he's planned at least the next 100 seasons.
He has a few of them, right?
Including spin-offs. So there will be a Samantha spin-off, the love interest spin-off.
I love it.
So much. So, hopefully this show will be edited quickly. We'll have a premiere, and, people will see it somewhere. So
I'm excited for it. And he's got such a vision, which is really exciting. Working with different playwrights and working with different screenwriters and having their vision is so important, and the more specific that they are, the more exciting it can be because you can really figure out where your world is within that, having those answers and connecting and kind of like going back and forth to like find that balance within the actor, and moving into that world is really great.
Right. Well, you're amazing. The dailies don't lie. I'm really excited about this footage. Anything else on the horizon for you? Oh. Or So the Story Goes. So another Indie Series Award connection, although you didn't meet through that at all. You just did a guest appearance on Or So the Story Goes new season.
Well, I was working with WebV Guide.
Okay.
Jeffrey, who's one of the awesome people that helps run that website, asked me to be on set with them for the day to do interviews and kind of just like get to know who they are and how they're working on season 4 right now. And they actually needed like somebody in the back. So they're like, Alisha, do you want to jump in? I was like, okay. So I got to have like a tiny like on camera background moment for that web series.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
That's going to be really interesting. I'm excited to see their season 4.
Which is a totally different type of show also. So
yeah, they've got these fairy tales with just different spins in a really scary, like different type of genre sort of way. Like you can edit this out.
what before we go, what is your dream role? What haven't you played that you want to play?
I do have a dream role on camera. I love period piece work.
Okay.
And I would love to be I would love to play a nurse in a 1940s World War II drama. That's kind of like something that I've always wanted to. I don't know where that script is or how that's going to happen.
It's a special episode of We Be Nurses coming soon.
I play my great grandmother.
A flashback to the great grandma.
Yeah, I just think that'd be so great. That era really fascinates me, and like,
Well, you look great in scrubs. I can attest to that.
Well, thanks. But yeah, I feel like being a nurse in that era would be a really strong, powerful sort of type of woman that like would be exciting. That's my answer.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We will be seeing you soon on
Thank
stage
you.
and on screen everywhere. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right.